Okay, this is the one video or talk that I had that I didn't know whether or not I should do today. Maybe I should do it some other day, and it's obviously because of personal issues. We all know, like, us men. Let me say, us men. When you either find something you devote yourself to, or you find someone who you're devoted to. Sometimes you find someone who you're devoted to first, and then find out the thing that you are devoted to second. And that's kind of what happened with me. And I said she energizes me by way of any man, guy. When your relationship with your spouse or your partner is stable and good and fine, then you have that sense of stability to give out what you have to into the world. So since my emails get checked and everything else gets checked, that's why I said this is her year. I want to get closer. I want us to communicate better. I want us to rekindle and to diminish whatever negativity we had. And that means that when I send her an email, I'm not publicizing some email out to the entire world. I'm not sure who does read it, but the intention is I send the email to Jennifer, and I want her to know how I feel at that time. I want to understand what she thinks. The normal way a man confides in a woman. That's what it's been. So for it to be something that is leaked out into the world, and that becomes a sort of narrative, that's not the way forward. I mean, I understand. I've been told by a lot of people, get used to it. If China wants to hack you, or Japan wants to hack you, or whatever, then they will hack you. I get it, but why I lashed out at journalists and journalism is I had a bad experience with journalists, who I prefer to call journos, who targeted me specifically. They defamed me. They were taking pictures and putting on captions of a character that I was not. There were claims that I have many girlfriends, I have many wives. If I communicate with a woman or a girl, then I'm in a relationship with her. They went out and got from women I obviously rejected because I'm already taken, and they got feedback from them, which is what was then splattered around, because there's no concrete story that can be put on a newspaper headline, because of the lack of consistent evidence by way of the communication form, which has been designed by me in a manner where they can only put out derogatory things about me as a person and not as a media establishment. And those people that defamed me and that brought out a character of me that isn't me, including the woman, deranged, crazy creature that she is, who with the help of some political allies of her were able to pretend to be Jennifer, and they fooled me and strung me on for the entire year. They had access, they could read my messages, they could hear my phone calls, and they made me say things that they could then put on the record and give out. They even had me say some things about my uncle, which they cut properly and give it out to him because they thought that they could pit us against each other. Luckily, he's obviously way above their caliber of thinking, and he was able to put two and two together and realized that this was nothing more than petty political opportunism. But the same cannot be said for her. She fell for these things that they were doing. A girl coming into my room asking for advice about her future, me telling her to go back to school, which in the end she did, and then I hear that I was supposedly making moves on her and so forth. While I encouraged her to go back to school, she came here as a maid, hoping that somehow I could get into a relationship with her because she comes from a poor background and she wanted to be with this guy, and she was asking me for advice, which I gave her. A lot of girls I've given advice who turned around and misused it against me because every time I would say no, I'm already in a relationship with Jennifer, and that stung. So they brought out their retaliation, and the way I feel about her extended all the way to even people in my own family feeling, well, him, why her, and so forth. So it becomes this thing, and I'm going to incorporate this within what I just said, that I was thinking about whether to make this today or not. I'm incorporating it in terms of what I did in the end, and what I did in the end was I said this is her year, and it really is her year, and I'm about to explain why. Last year I decided last year, after Hillary Clinton launched the beginning of her campaign, I was happy, obviously, that she was running again, and it would be the first lady president in the United States. And that's not the only reason why I was so drawn to Hillary. And I'm about to explain this because I started an experiment where I tried to sort of bring out the best in women who I felt were natural leaders but didn't know their own potential. So I wanted to put them on a pedestal and see whether they can live up to their pedestal. One of these examples, when I went to the north and I was writing about I don't know whether I should say her name. I guess she will know, and most people will know. And I was like, she is the first democratically elected woman in Africa. Yes, it was a reality show, and whatever happened there, I didn't watch it. I really don't know. But the leadership trait that she had, which was immature in the sense where she was able to live up to a certain potential within that reality show. You have to become a leader. You have to become someone that stands out. Whether you listen and then do, or tell to do and then listen. And in order for you to convince the audience of your leadership trait, you have to be a leader. And that was based on the fact that it wasn't only men that voted for this particular lady to win. It was also women. And women are supposed to be mostly competitive, right? They compete with each other. That's the notion that the world has, that women don't support each other as much in the same manner that us men support each other. When you see a friend go up, you're like, Although most of my friends saw me go up and wanted to pull me down and went to an extreme length. So I would say that is debunked. Or these dudes were acting like girls. But I don't want to demean girls by calling these dudes saying they were acting like girls. If they were acting like girls, they would be confrontational, like women. Women are emotional when they're emotional. So life is built on emotion. And her being able to convince all of these people that she should win, that is a leadership trait. What happens when a politician goes out and he wants to convince people that he is the right candidate. He has to convince, he has to say, these are my traits, and in respect to the office that I want. So I wanted her to be seen for not the fact that this reality show setup was like this, but the fact that she showed leadership by winning. And the first woman, I think it's the first woman to win Big Brother Africa. I think it's Cherise. I don't know, but she was that's when I did watch it. She was one of my favorites. She had character. Right? When she won, you were happy for her. Now, I'm not sure about our Namibian winner, whether people were happy for her. I'm not sure about that. But what I do know is most people that voted from the outside. But when she did come here, what did she face? Number one, you just won a lot of money. People know it. And you get celebrated as a champion within the country. So that happened. And then later on, after all of that glitz and glamour, you have to fit in and decide what kind of a person you are. And this is the part where I decided, you know what? Let me say, you're a leader. And by that, I will follow you. When I follow you, as most fans would follow you, we love you and so forth. As I do follow you, I will see what your response is. And the response that I got was that of a leader. Like it or not, the thing is, every leader will eventually come to the point where someone in the background says, but we do most of the work. But who is the leader that has that spark when it comes to majority briefing? Same thing with Alicia Keys. Alicia Keys, I'm a big fan. She plays the piano herself. She's a graceful woman. I would say Alicia Keys is the only woman I see in the music industry, R&B, I think, and soul, who, if I saw her in some sort of a skimpy, underwearish kind of costume, I would be taken aback. I would be like, no, because she has that sophistication and class, and that sophistication and class she carries with her throughout her music. This includes, I think people know about Mary J. Blige. She used to be the queen of this, right? And she had to go to the extent where she was showing more cleavage, being more sexually appealing to fans, in order for them to see her and say, wow, for her. But when people hear Alicia Keys, they listen to her voice. Whatever the lyrics might be, they expect a lady. That sense of class that she has, to me, made her a leader. A leader within that genre where she is. And I wanted to know whether she had more leadership traits. And she did. She showed a sense of reaching out, a sense of humanity, but a sense of humanity that is well-rounded to the character that you hear in the songs, in the music when she sings. So that's where I put her on her pedestal, right? And then it was the actress. When it comes to people that make, I have been a Gabrielle Union fan for ages. Ages, ever since I watched is it Cadillac Records. I think even before that, even with the Eva movies and so forth, she was the dark-skinned actress within a predominantly white industry and light-skinned industry, but she shined when she was acting. She showed actual acting performance, unlike those who relied only on their beauty. She showed it in her craft. So I decided, what happens when she's on a pedestal? And when she was on a pedestal, her character, the one that came out, the one that was a bit political by social association. You can link this to the Oscars. And that is who I saw. And I wanted to put her on that pedestal because she is a leader. Most importantly, I used to be a guy, because of my post-trauma and whatever, who I would become very timid around women. I didn't trust women. Those I did trust, if I was out of that comfort zone, I wouldn't be comfortable. It went to a point where I wasn't a smiley, happy-go guy. And then I met someone who broke my barrier. She scared the out of me, because here she was, and she was this impossible attraction, this impossible girl I liked. But I was so anxious, timid, shy. I didn't know what to do because I don't have relationship experience when it comes to women. At that time, I was mostly with my friends. We talk with my friends, or if it's a girl, I talk to her and she's a friend, but not romantically. This was my first romantic experience. And when I heard her talk, the things we talked about, I don't know if she remembers, they didn't surprise me. And that's when I fell in love with Jennifer. I didn't fall in love with her face. I didn't fall in love with her body, her voice. I fell in love with the person, her character, what she said to me. Obviously, we then, due to confusion, her not understanding what was going on with me, and it only got worse with me. And every time we sort of rekindled and caught up, one time I started to want to prove to her that I was sort of not only worthy but worth accepting, unlike when I was younger. So I started to smile. I started to be more polite with people. I started to be more open. I started to talk more. Why? Because I wanted to bridge that barrier where I couldn't be polite to her, talk to her, smile with her, and so forth, and she got the wrong impression of me. I wanted to break that. And that's the period most people say where, well, you were fine then. I was fine because of someone. So to me, she becomes an emotional leader. And by emotional leader, I mean emotional stability. Meaning she shows me feelings that I did not know or understand or feel before. And when you get these feelings, you mature, you grow. But as I grew, I started to understand the importance of having another person be themselves, of having them accepting. So it brings this sort of collision where I can be this person when I'm with her. When I'm not, I can't, because then I'll be faking it. Why? Because she's the one that instigates that feeling. It's like when the boss is in the room, people act differently. It's not to say you become submissive. No, I don't become submissive. What I do become is someone who is willing to listen. And that is something that I don't have, that stubbornness. And let's go back to Hillary. How does this all tie in? Well, it showed me what I said, since people read my emails, this is her year. What I meant by that was, Tell me what you're feeling, tell me what you're thinking, and I will respond appropriately. Tell me what your plans are. Tell me where you want to be in the future, and I'll respond appropriately. That is what I told my wife, Jennifer. Right? So that we have an open bridge of communication, irrespective of a wedding, a marriage certificate, and so forth, because that's how it lasts. Now, the leadership trait that I saw in her was the ability to tame me, and that is how I eventually put this all together, and why when I saw Hillary's campaign message that she's going to become run for president, as well as the fact that I did want her to win last time. I wanted her to win last time just because she would be the first female president. But this time, I support her and decided to support her because she's a leader. Female leaders, right? Female leaders, I've noticed, and since I was raised by my mom, my slave sisters, I respect my sisters, right? I give them a sense of authority that they don't deserve, right? But which is given to them from me because they are older. It's a privilege. It's not a fact. So meaning it is sort of allowing them to feel superiority or superior so that they can be more open with me when I do wrong. Not because they can tell me what to do. That is past, right? That style of leadership is the style of leadership that you have in most women leaders, female leaders, like the ones that I just told you about, that I was observing. Those are the characteristics that you have with female leaders, which is persuasion. Some call it a nudge. When you're angry and you want to, and the lady says, no, calm down. When you see her, you go by instruction, like, okay, let me calm down. So that is an instruction, but you don't see it as an emotional instruction. No, you just feel this sense of, she's afraid, she doesn't want me. But no, that is leadership. And that small, subtle point that women, most lady leaders that are good leaders, lead by persuasion, meaning they are not bossy, confrontational, unnecessarily. No, mostly they are persuasive. They persuade you to act in a certain way. They persuade you to feel in a particular way. They persuade you to reason in a particular way. And that grace of leadership is the thing that I am looking at when it comes to any leader. This is why Barack was sort of boxed out by Michelle, because she brought this sense of caring leadership. And caring leadership is opposed to the way women are like, or I'm your role model, right? You are persuaded as opposed to you being convinced. So it becomes your own decision as well as the decision that the lady leader, whoever she might be, wanted you to submit to. So I looked at Hillary Clinton, her record as a leader, not what she led or what she wanted to be there. No. But as a leader, how she progressed, how she matured. And she is a leader within the respect of any man or any woman, because I got my sense of persuasive leadership from my mother. That's why I got it. And forceful leadership, slightly, I got from my father. But I ended up being able to put them together. And that's the same way I think. I think apart, then I put it together. So you have a leader now who persuades as opposed to forces or tries to convince. What she does is she says, see it from my angle, see it from my perspective. When a woman says, as a mother, there is no way for a man to relate. That's what we think. But what about a caring, loving father who couldn't save his child? That is the sense of care that women have, I've noticed. And that leadership trait, which I discussed a long time ago, I think, already, that leadership trait of a mother teaches a child to talk, right? She leads a child, this is how you talk, and she raises a child as the child grows from crawling to standing. That natural leadership trait to appear out of a person, this is what I wanted to see. When I said I would rather listen to women, I wanted to see what happens when you put a woman in a leadership role above a man she thinks, right, as the norm of society should be the leader. That's what I was doing. So I said I'd rather hear women talk, as in I want to instill confidence and see what happens when a woman is given absolute power and said, you're the one that controls this. Does she decide to live up to it, or does she falter? The whole companion reason is being able to say, okay, you said that, you did that, I agree or I don't agree. What do you think about my agreement or disagreement? That's the leadership model that should be modern leadership, right? Apart from the obvious physical barriers, women get pregnant, maternity leave, do men deserve maternity leave or not, should women become housewives and so forth. Those are all personal decisions, not really societal. I think that's unfair, because a man can raise a child. I mean, you can have a man that's at home. Let's say you marry let's say, for women that marry men that write, an author, he writes at home, right? So he can stay with the kid while she's out working or not. That interchangeability has this question mark of leadership, of who's in charge. While it shouldn't be about who's in charge, no, it should be about who can balance, because a lot of us think that leadership is about control, while leadership should be about balance. If you only have control and not balance, then you're not leading. And that is how this all ties into, starting from last year, what I wanted to see, what I wanted to view, and whether it's right or not. And it's right. The method that I had for identifying potential female leaders was 100% correct. It's all about bringing the leader out of somebody, and it does bring self-esteem to the one that's being given that privilege. And since when I was doing with a correspondent about childhood and childhood learning, I also looked at how the girl child and the boy child, about what are their conflicting leadership roles, because you have the leader of the boys and the leader of the little girls, and within school prefects. And that style is how can I put it, it's sort of where you start to see the difference, where you have the little girl child, when she asserts her authority, she's considered as bossy, bossy or pushing, while it's because persuasion isn't working, because the boy child, he is instantly seen as someone with authority, even for little kids, and that they should listen to the boy child. So this day I wanted to set the record straight and say just why everything was like that, what I was thinking behind the scenes, and why I was thinking that way. And leadership is important. Leadership is important at home, at work, and so forth. So leadership positions that differ are also important, and it has helped me. It's helped me to see whether I myself am a leader or a follower, or most importantly, whether I'm too insecure to lead or not. And this all came from seeing the sort of oppression that female leaders have. When I did the Africa, the Africa talk, which it went out, and I've been asked to speak about drought and so forth, and how we can solve the drought issue. I'll do that, don't worry. I just have to set the record straight here. And a lot of women speakers in the South African Parliament were coming out, and they were talking, and to me it was something worth seeing in a male-dominated area, not because they are just women, but because they become leaders, because they crush the whole sense of gender when it comes to leading. And that is what I want. It might seem like sometimes I'm a bit submissive and so forth, but when I have to assert authority, I do. But I didn't want to do that yet, because I wanted to understand the difference between male leaders and female leaders, why it matters, why it doesn't matter, why it makes a difference, why it shouldn't make a difference. And I have been told I should write, since a lot of people don't have access to broadband to see the videos or even to capture the audio. And I will. I think it should be understood my predicament at the moment. The book, even, I am almost being strangled, like, when is the book coming? And I have to come through for that. I've learned to deal with pressure, and I'm helped. She helps me a lot, which is why I decided, respect her, because she does bring out that inspiration in me. And when there's a calm between us, if there is a calm between us, which is why I asked for your help, guys, like, help me make things alright with her. Tell me what she's thinking, what she's saying, because if there is that calm between us, then I have nothing to worry about, because she's my family, she's my future as I see it. So I don't want to lose my family. I do have family. I have my brothers and my sisters, but without her, I'm pretty damn empty. And I think that's because she leads my emotional perspective and direction. Whatever she's going through, I have people walking around, doing all sorts of funny things. And if we're having trouble, it's better if you are sisters as opposed to saying that we should be apart, because then there'll be no book, then there'll be no more of these talks. I wouldn't have this energy, and I don't want to sulk. I also want to walk. But if I have to walk, my personal life has to walk, and this thing that I have been wanting and yearning for a long time, it has to come through. That's the only payment I've asked. And looking at what I've done, it's not a lot. So I shouldn't be putting this in here. It's a desperate cry, but yeah, I mean, it's the love of my life. I want Jennifer Ilukena to be Jennifer Kavamba Ilukena, or Jennifer Ilukena Kavamba, or whatever. But it's just that light at the end of my tunnel. And for a long time in my life, I've had a tunnel. If it's not true, then okay. But at least, let it be known that it's not a crush, it's not just simply infatuation. It's been a life driving goal which has led me here, making this video today. And that is the leader of my heart. Not necessarily my mind. You know how my mind is, different, boring, intellectual, and so forth. But it has driven me to this point where I speak about female leaders, about gay rights, all the things that I never in my life thought I would stand for or represent and say people deserve this today. But I think to have come here, I must have been led, and that's all I wanted to come out, is like throughout all the messages, like, you brought me here, and I'm going to go further, and we're going to go further. But it shows a special trait in you that you can show the world, and that should be appreciated. Women should be appreciated as leaders, and yeah, big ups, respect. So from here on, it's full on. Maybe it depends, what happens with me. But I hope this explained last year as well as this year. And I hope someone does hear this and understands what I said, what I meant, and in what direction. So for now, salute.